We are. My name is Greg Sperling. I'm a member here of the Stratford Veterans Museum, and it's December 2nd, 2022, and I'm here with Dan McFarland, former Specialist 4 with the U.S. Army. What branch of the service with? I think I told you the U.S. Army, right?
I was in the Army.
Okay, and what specialty? You had Spec 4, but what?
11B 20. Well, 11B 40.
Which
also,
was what?
Which is light infantry.
Okay, you were light infantry. And when did you join the military?
In January of 1969.
And were you drafted or did you volunteer?
I volunteered.
You volunteered. And where were you living at the time?
I was living in Stratford, Connecticut.
Okay. And why'd you join?
I joined, we had some recruiters that came to the high school, you know, and I was kind of floundering. I worked for a magazine company, you know, and I was sort of disillusioned, you know, and I also felt it was my obligation, you know, living in the United States, to do my time in service.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, well, going back, I was born in Canada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so at the time, I didn't know it, but I wasn't an American citizen, you know. But I ended up joining the service, and I went to Fort Dix, New Jersey, in middle of winter. Yeah, that was.
That's not the place to go in the middle of winter.
No, not exactly. No.
But being from Canada, it should have been easy.
Right? Yeah, no, I ended up, I caught the flu, you know, it was quite an interesting 8 weeks, you know. And then I did my advanced infantry training there too.
Okay.
And then I went to Vietnam. And
let me roll back a little bit real quick. How old were you when your parents or your family came from Canada?
I was around 4 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, we lived in Stamford before we lived in Stratford,
Okay.
Connecticut. You know.
And what prompted the family to come to the U.S. from Canada?
My father was a carpenter, and he found work, you know, in the United States.
Okay.
And he was actually from Barry, Vermont. And he never on a Social Security rolls. He built barns in Canada. And when he came to the United, then they had a new project going out in the south end of Stratford. It was going on Stratford Acres, you know.
Yes,
and,
yes, yeah.
Yeah, so he ended up working on that.
Okay.
And so that's how we ended up in Stratford, Connecticut.
Well, I know this is your story, but real quick, my mother's side of the family is from Barry, Vermont.
Oh, how about that?
And my great-grandparents came from Barry to work at Chance Vaught in the south end of Stratford.
Oh, yeah.
So that's how our family ended up coming, and they actually lived in some of those homes that your dad built when they first came from Vermont. So that's pretty pretty interesting.
It's a small world. Huh?
It is very much a small world. So what did you think? How did you pick the Army out of all of the services?
No special reason, really. I didn't think that. Actually, I didn't do much research on it.
Okay.
You know, yeah.
All right. You just joined,
Yeah.
and your recruiter was there, and
yeah.
he got you, and that was it.
They caught my fancy, you know.
Okay.
I mean, those two guys that came in and gave us the spiel, you know, and everything, and I said, you know what, I wouldn't mind joining the Army, you know. Yeah. So my mother got in touch with me. I was working for that magazine service. I was in Texas, and she said, "You just received the greetings." That was on Christmas Eve.
Wow.
Of 1968. Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
And so you graduated Stratford High?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you involved in any activities when you were there?
Well, I was on the baseball team and the bowling team. We were second in the nation in high school bowling.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Very good. very good.
You still bowl?
You know? Oh yes. Yeah.
I was gonna add. Very
Oh
good.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what was your first, so now you're in Fort Dix, so what's your initial reaction to the U.S. Army?
Well, my initial reaction was, what in the hell did I get myself into? Because it was, actually it was somewhat of an angry, awakening, I guess, because the drill sergeants were not friendly at all.
No, they would not be friendly. Absolutely not.
So you immediately, what they do is they just they get rid of all your other aspirations or whatever, and you become a soldier, and that's it.
Yes.
And, so
Absolutely.
I was somewhat scared, and at the same time, I wanted to, I wanted to be a soldier, so I wanted to achieve, So,
Okay.
yeah.
So you went through boot camp and you went through your infantry training there at Fort Dix. And how old are you?
Well, now I'm 18 and a half, almost 19
Okay.
years old. Yeah, in June I turned 19.
And then
Yeah.
shortly thereafter, you're in Vietnam.
I was in Vietnam.
And when
in
did
January
January of
1969.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where do you start out in
We
Vietnam?
came into right near Saigon. It was called Long Binh, and I kept hearing boom, boom. They were walking in mortars. As we came, we got off the plane and the tarmac, and we were in our billets, in our base camp, and I could hear the mortars walking in, and the staff sergeant, he said, "Welcome to Vietnam," Yeah.
Now, what unit were you with when you were there?
Well, I was with the 25th Infantry, 1st of the Mechanized, 1st of the 5th Mechanized. We were armor personnel carriers, and we're a reactionary force. We were a ride for other light infantry, and we cleared the roads in the morning, that kind of thing, Okay. Supposedly we were on what they called a pacification program. This was after the big Tet Offensive.
Right.
This was after '68. And we didn't have any problem until around February or March. That's when things started to get a little dangerous, because we were pretty much, we didn't have as many regular NVA soldiers. We were fighting against this VC,
Okay.
the local of Viet Cong, and they were like the insurgents in Iraq. They were quite resourceful and quite dangerous. A lot of mines, they like to put out a lot of mines, and the anti-tank mines.
Right.
So we had a couple engineers that worked with us that helped clear the roads too. Yeah.
And were you in the Long Binh area most of the time you were there?
No, that was just
That was
like
just-
the first week,
Okay.
and then we went out to 3 Corps, and Cu Chi was the name. Cu Chi, Vietnam was where I was stationed there. That was the major base camp, and then we worked out of there. And during that pacification program, we also worked with ARBANs. We worked with the Republic of Vietnam Army. We were trying to get them to take over, and that was kind of slow. They wanted to be part of it, and yet they didn't want to be part of it, So it was quite interesting working with them.
So I noticed in the biography I read from you, 3 Purple Hearts
Yes.
and Bronze Stars, your highest award.
The Bronze Star was my
Yes.
highest award, yeah.
Tell us, if you're okay with it, tell us about the 3 Purple Hearts.
Oh, yes. Well, 2 of them were like if they were B-40 rockets. They were and I received some a wound in my Achilles tendon, and one went through my shin. I was so lucky it didn't hit my shin bone, but it went just
The
right
muscle?
through,
Right.
and very lucky. I had one a B-40 rocket. I got hit in the neck area, and that's the one that I had to take a helicopter ride on. I was My company commander looked at it and he said, "You know what? You better go in." And so at night and under fire, that was probably the scariest. I said, "Oh man, they're going to shoot this chopper down."
So you had a nighttime medevac
Yeah,
under fire.
nighttime under fire. Yeah, that was and the other one I received. Believe it or not, I stepped on a not concertina wire, but the poles that they it was real muddy where we were, and,
Punji sticks or whatever they used to
bungee,
call them.
yeah, and I gouged my leg, yeah, with it, and I don't know how I received a Purple Heart for that one. that was my third one, though.
Okay. And the B-40 rockets, those were all while you guys were on patrol in your vehicles, or?
Well, that was that particular one that I hit the pole was. We were under fire that night. We had some sappers that came through the wire, the concertina wire, and so I was trying to get to the outer berm, and that's how I received that. And I didn't really think that was all no big deal, But this one that I received in my neck, that was scary when I had to take that helicopter ride, But I was extremely lucky. Yeah, really lucky.
Did you have
I had a guy that my first job as on patrol was I was a radio operator, and my staff sergeant, Steve Stubblefield, he was from California. He was gung-ho. He was looking for every possible way to get in the action. He was looking for concussion grenades, for foxholes, and throw concussion grenades down and everything. And so I tried to get away from him. I'll be honest. That's why I became a 60 gunner after that. I gave the radio up, and nobody else wanted to carry the M60 machine guns. So I said, "Oh, I'll take it." Yeah.
Well, that's good. I was just going to ask you what weapon you were responsible for when you were up, but that's it.
Well, I did pretty much every even mortars. I handled every possible weapon,
Okay.
M79, yeah, grenade launcher, you name it, M16. Yeah, it was quite interesting. I kept the 60 machine gun for 4 months. Yeah, I carried that for 4 months.
Okay.
And I felt a little more powerful, actually. I felt with that kind of firepower, I could back up the enemy if I had to.
It'd be a little safer, if there is such a thing.
Yeah.
How did your unit do casualty-wise? Was there a high casualty rate?
We didn't receive a lot of casualty rate until we got into what they call the Iron Triangle, which was a place called Tainan, Daochang, and Cu Chi was part of that Iron Triangle. But then we went into Cambodia, and that's when we received a lot of. We were a reactionary force to it was a first Cav, and they were being overrun in the middle of the day. And we got there and we just about got wiped out. We ended up in my unit, we had 9 in the platoon. We had 2 of us left out of the 9, They were either wounded or killed, and that was, they hit us, they let us come in for about 18 clicks. They let us, we were capturing mortar pools and all kinds of things underground. And then they decided they wanted to fight. And then we were fighting NVA regiment, regulars, And yeah, there was, they were like like the World War II, they had problems with the hedgerows. You know, we had problems in Cambodia with the hedgerows. There were a lot of rice paddies. So when we came through the hedgerows, on the other side of the hedgerows, they were in B-52 craters with their mortars or whatever. And so we, no matter how we were firing above ground, you weren't hitting anything. So Cambodia was quite interesting, Greg.
I can only imagine. Oh man. What's your most memorable experience, whether I guess it's bad or good, then during that time you were there?
Probably my most memorable was the standouts. You know, when we were able to let our hair down and enjoy ourselves and drink a little bit. And, yeah, there was quite a bit of substance abuse going on too. You know,
Okay.
yeah, a lot of pot, a lot of marijuana, a lot of, you know. I had guys in my unit. I went to a lightning combat leadership course, which that was really interesting. And at the time, I was sort of like an acting sergeant, and I had guys that would they'd take speed at night, and then they would take tranquilizer in the morning to go to sleep. You know.
Yeah.
So I told them, I says, you know, if you ever jeopardize us, you know, I'll make sure that you don't get back to the United States. You know. So yeah, that was yeah.
And I noticed, other than I'm sorry, tell us about the Bronze Star. What were the activities that earned you the Bronze Star?
Well, the Bronze Star was, we were clearing roads again, and we were on a unimproved road, dirt road. And I distinctly remember it because we had a guy that was, he was short, he had 12 days left. And he was on front of the armored personnel carriers. We were told not to ride there, but he was riding up on in the front. And then one of my friends was, he was a track commander, and he was sitting on a 2x4. And the TC shield was open, and we hit a anti-tank mine, and I think may have been a booby trap 105 round, you know. And anyway, the armored personnel carrier went up, and all of us were sitting on top of the armored personnel carriers. We refused to drive inside, you know, there was too many casualties from inside. So anyway, we got thrown from the armored personnel carrier, and it started on, the front of it was on fire, and I realized that my friend had fell inside. He fell inside the track. So, you know, without thinking, I just jumped up and I went inside the T-shield, and I was able to get him and bring him out. And so they gave me a Bronze Star
And well deserved
for
Bronze
him.
Star. Yes.
I have a picture of that leveled, that armored personnel carrier was, with all the ammunition and everything, it's just completely leveled. You know, there's nothing left of it. Yeah. So,
Something else, and well deserved. Tell us about your other medals. You had the
well,
Purple Heart.
that's
You've got
the one. This one was interesting because I made the Canadian, actually the Canadian, this was the original one they sent me. Yeah.
So I'm going to just put this in front of the camera.
Oh, I got a better picture of it if, I don't know how long you want to make this.
Well, we'll probably take
Okay.
a copy of this later before we let you go.
Oh, yeah, you could have
Okay.
it. This,
Yeah,
you
for
can have
sure.
this one, yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, my aunt sent that from Canada. She sent that, you know, and
Well, this was in the Canadian newspaper. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
amazing. January 14th of 70.
yeah.
My birthday on 1970. I was 10. On the day that you were. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, that they asked me you know, they didn't really ask you, but I had a radio at the time. That was still with Stubblefield, my staff sergeant, and they wanted somebody to blow a dud around that hadn't gone off. So I volunteered, and this other guy with me, PFC Hardy, we volunteered to stay back and blow the 105 round. You know, and it raining, and luckily he had to have a Tampa. He had and he was able to light the fuse, and it went out. The fuse went out. So then we went back, and now my unit is in between us and the 105 round, and they kept moving forward, and the enemy came out of they come out of a foxhole, right? So Hardy sent, he said, hand me a baseball grenade, you know, and throw me a grenade. Now I threw it over to him, and he threw it, and he hit a tree about 20 feet from us. He almost killed us both. You know? Oh, and then they opened up. The enemy, the VC opened up. They shot at us, and I was able to return fire. And I aimed low left, and I hit one of them. And the other two, they gave up. You know, and so I took them prisoner, and yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
And so, when you were getting ready to finish up your year, was it like kind of a slowdown, or were you like fully in the mix of it, and all of a sudden the next day you're just on your way home, or how did things go?
Yeah, what had happened was because I didn't have much time left, they sent me back, me and another fellow, Jay Conley from Brockton, Mass. They sent us to the rear with the armored personnel carrier that was disabled. Big old helicopter crane, one of those picked up the track, and we went with the armored personnel carrier. And then it was kind of slow, and we had the option to either what was called ETS or go back to the States and finish your tour. And I opted to go back to the States. Okay. My friend Jay, he stayed and he was able to get out of the military. He ETS'd in Vietnam, you know. Yeah. Okay. You know, hindsight if I had, you know, but I just wanted to get out of harm's way.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you, when you were in Vietnam, how did you stay in touch with your family and friends? Or if you did?
Well, I kind of limited. I did get my mother. Yeah, I talked to my mother quite a bit, you know, and yeah, tried to keep her, you know, I guess just trying to make sure that she didn't worry about me too much, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now what about just daily life? Was the food any good? Did you have the supplies you needed? What was?
You know, I would have to say that they actually treated us pretty well, pretty good. We had a good number of hot meals, you know, and everything. I really couldn't complain about that, you know. And like when we were in base camp, when we were on stand down, they you know, like around the holidays, they really took care of us good, you know.
And what was the ratio to stand down versus, you know, you're actually out on missions?
Oh, that was like 1 or 2 days out of 2 months.
Would be a stand down.
Yeah, it would be a stand down.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we spent a lot of search and destroy missions and night ambushes, you know.
Any R&R while you were there?
Yes, I was able to go to Australia. Yeah, which I enjoyed.
How long were you there?
And I was there a week.
A week? Okay.
Yeah. And I went to Hawaii also. Yes.
Very nice. So you're on your way back home, right? Where do you come to? Are you back in Stratford, or you go what?
Yeah, well, what we had done was we flew from Alaska to Japan. We were coming out of Oakland.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had to catch a flight from Oakland back to JFK.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That
And
was
now-
interesting.
Why was that?
Well, when I got in the airport, I had my duffel bag and my dress uniform on, and these Hare Krishnas came up to me and they said, "Oh man, we want you to take your uniform off and burn it," And I said, "No, I don't think so." I said, "The only thing I have to wear home." I said, "So guys need to back up." So then I went into the bar and I ordered a beer, and I wasn't 21, and I couldn't. Yeah. So that's a tip. It was. I'm being treated a lot better now.
And when you came back to the States, how much time did you have left in the military?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I probably had, maybe like 4 months.
Okay.
left.
And where did you do that? Where were
Fort
you
Riley,
stationed?
Kansas.
Okay. Fort Riley.
Yeah. Home of General Patton.
What did they have you do for 4 months? I mean, you're right back from Vietnam, and you're.
Well, we could live
Stateside?
off. I lived off base.
Okay.
Even and we didn't really do a whole lot, other than some light infantry training.
Okay.
Yeah. Really didn't do a whole lot.
All right. All right. So you're discharged from Fort Riley in Kansas, and you come home to mom.
No, I went to Tennessee. I went to visit a girlfriend that I had gone out with, back in the day, and well, she was all set. She had another boyfriend, and she was going to get married. So that was no good. That was a dead end. So I decided to come back to mom. Yeah,
Okay.
back home. To Stratford.
And what did you do when you got here? What were those weeks, months, and time like when you first got home?
Few different jobs, I did some odd jobs with, my brother was a roofer, so I worked with him for a while, and I had kind of a chip on my shoulder when I got back, I was in kind of an attitude, and but I worked for the post office a little while for Christmas help, that kind of thing. I can remember I worked for Remington Arms.
Yep.
Yeah. And I lived with one of my older brothers at the time. He had a family, and he worked at Remington Arms, kind of got me a job in there, And I rode a lot of motorcycle and enjoyed it. I was enjoying life,
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. And did you ever, utilize your GI Bill when you came home?
Yes, I ended up going to junior college, Housatonic Community College, and then I ended up going in the forestry industry. I was forest technology. That was I got a degree in forest technology, through the GI Bill, which is the greatest, Yeah.
And were you
But
able
they don't call it the GI Bill anymore. They have another name for it, So.
And were you able to use that degree for work purposes, or what did you do?
I did. I worked. I worked 4 years in the field. I worked for Union Camp Corporation. It was a wood industry.
Okay.
That was interesting. And then I basically, my wife was homesick. She was from Stratford, Connecticut, and wanted to come home. And we ended up coming back up here, and I worked for a company called Ashcroft now. I worked for Dresser Industries.
Yeah.
And then I went to work for 30 years for a company, started out business products, ended up Staples. We were an office supply company. Yeah.
You talked a lot about your friends when you were talking about your Vietnam time. Have you stayed close with any of your friends from the service?
Up until 1985. Yeah, and then I lost touch with most of them. Yes, I have one that lives in Connecticut here, Larry Baker, and it's just one of those things, out of sight but not out of mind. You know. Yeah, we never get together, but yeah, they my unit. There's a couple guys that have they've been kind of getting reunions together, you know,
Okay.
and so I probably now that I have plenty of time, I probably see about going to one of those reunions. You know, I think their next one is in New Orleans.
Okay,
You
nice
know,
place to
so,
go, and,
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
So how did your military experience, your combat service, how did that affect your life as a whole?
As a whole, I think you know they have a saying that it was good training, you know, which I really thought it was. You know, to this day, I'm a lot more organized than I would have been. I think, you know, in life, you know, and I feel that you know I don't take a whole lot of things for granted. You know, I'm very lucky. You know, my family and have all my friends and all. You know,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, great. Well, I thank you, Specialist for McFarland, for your service to our country and for spending the time to visit with us today and tell your story. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.